Hey there, YouTube. It's Saturday, uh, February 16th, 2019. It's top. No, I, I'm being told that I don't understand science. I am an enemy of science. Now, I sent out videos explaining to you how I was when I was a kid. That there was only one subject in school that I liked. Science. I liked music class. I did. I liked science and I liked music. But that was it. I could have done without the rest of them. I didn't like any of the other ones. So when I hear things like, you don't understand science, I try to picture how much time did you spend on science? Because I know I spent a lot of time on science. I spent time in the house when everybody was outside. I was reading. I paid attention in class when everybody else was writing notes to each other. You understand? It's nothing new to me. For the vast majority of you, you've read an article last week, and now you got the whole gist. Our mainstream media is telling us that it's getting warmer outside. And our mainstream media is also telling us that it's colder than it's ever been. This 20-year period that we're in now is colder than it's been since they started recording the weather. If it's colder than it's been, how is it heating up? You understand? And you people are going to argue with me that I don't make sense. Both of them, in a week, were on the news. It's overheating. The sun is artificially overheating everything, and it's colder than it's been. How is that possible? It's not. It's not possible. It's only possible in your mind. Do you know why it's possible in your mind? Because you only heard one of those news articles, and that's imprinted on your brain, and it doesn't matter that the other news article came on 5 minutes after that. It's irrelevant because you had to leave the house. You had to get up and go cook dinner, and you didn't hear the other guy. I'm an enemy of science. Look at the weather. They've been messing with the weather since World War I. 1917. They were messing with the weather. It's been 102 years. You think they got better at it? 102 years since they started seeding clouds and making it rain and causing thunderstorms and causing lightning storms. They were doing it in 1917. The military. The patents exist. The technology existed. And it's in our history books that they flooded the French fields. How'd they flood the French fields, you ask? Oh, rain. Bonehead. They did it in Germany. They flooded all the fields down there on the coast going into San Marie du Mont was the name of the place they landed. San Marie du Mont. They flooded all the fields in San Marie du Mont. And then they went to what was the name of I forget the name of the next town they went to. But when they landed at San Marie du Mont, they had rain and rain and rain. And why couldn't they jump? Because there was fog and fog and fog and fog, and they couldn't jump. Well, you've all heard of Omaha and Utah Beach, right? Well, guess what? Omaha, that's San Marie du Mont. Now, I guess I'm just, spitting out names. I really don't know anything about this shit. Alright? They rained. They were making it rain. So that Rommel and Himmler and Goebbels and all them knuckleheads, they couldn't drive their tanks and pull their blitzkrieg, where they just line up in a long, real wide column and move forward at a high speed, just destroying everything in a way. That's blitzkrieg. Well, they couldn't do that because there was only a road. The field next to the road flooded. Tank couldn't go in there. Had to follow the road and stay in a column this way. That's what made it easier. We made them drive on the roads that we wanted. That's what our technology did. In 1940. Alright? They're telling us that they got this shit all figured out. Right? They know that evolution's true. Yet they have no evidence of it. They have evidence of microevolution, where a beak would get a little bit longer, or toenails or something would get longer, or hair would grow a little thicker depending on the environment. Absolutely. I believe humans adapt that way also. I don't know that we're going to grow hair, but physiologically inside, people that live up in the frozen tundra areas, well, they don't survive so well down around the equator. You know why? Because they changed over time. They micro-evolved. A part evolves. A part. A species does not become another species. That's impossible. They're telling us that killer whales were at one time a wolf. Do you understand that? They were a single cell organism that grew up, right, and became a fish. And that fish grew legs and came out of the water and became a mammalian wolf. But it couldn't find food on land, so it went back to the water and turned into a fucking killer whale, an orca. That's science. That's what they're telling us out there. That is frigging insane. It was a fish. It turned into an amphibian. And then it walked up on land and became a mammal, a wolf. It was a fish. It became a wolf. Now it's a mammal in the water. That's ridiculous. That's limitless imagination. Well, shit. If they're all them animals transform like that, well, hell, Luke, I am your father. It don't make no sense. They're telling us that they know what the center of the earth is. They know we're on this 8,000 mile diameter sphere, and they know what's at the center of it. They say it's a magnetic core, a metallic magnetic core that behaves like no magnet ever. And if you bring up all the different scientists that talk about the Earth's core and the magnetic field, they all contradict each other. None of them are even remotely the same. You just got to walk into the pages and pick one, because none of them are the same. Now, you may find 1 million people that agree with this, but don't listen to all the people that are agreeing with it. Go to the people that said it. Go to that. Go to the people that say their observations show this. Because every one of them have different observations. And then their little fanboys came around and went, yeah, he's right. Having never done anything. They're just agreeing with somebody. Because it gives them a paycheck. It gives them grants for school. Yeah, it gets them tenure. That's the only reason. You're going to tell me we have a solid metallic core somewhere around 3,500 miles down. Somewhere around there. Can I break something down to you? You know the deepest hole we've ever dug is a little over 7 miles. That's the deepest we have ever been. The equipment drills down, the pressure becomes too great, and all the equipment fails. It happens. They have never gotten any deeper. So if you want to tell me, hey, this is what the Earth's crust looks like down to 7.1 miles, 7.2 miles, 7.3 miles, whatever, I agree with you. If you want to tell me what the Earth looks like 9 miles below the surface, I'm calling bullshit, because you've never seen it. You don't know. You can assume. You know what happens when you assume. But you can assume. But you don't know. I don't know. What I do know is 8,000 miles below my feet, nobody is standing this way. I know magnets. I know magnets. I know electromagnetism. I understand it. That core is not a magnet the way any of them 30 or whatever say it is. Because that behaves like no magnet ever. None of them know exactly how a magnet, the field goes around. They're all different descriptions. They all have different observations. How are they all observing different things with the same? They're looking at the same thing and having a different observation? Imagination is endless. Telling us that the Big Bang Theory's all figured out. Nothing contracted, exploded, and made everything. That's ridiculous. But I don't know science. I'm getting attacked by people that are telling me that Felix Baumgartner jumped off a hot air balloon and was doing 800 miles per hour wearing a leather suit and a motorcycle helmet. 800 miles per hour free fall. Yeah, that just went into your head and you heard crickets. You know why? Because you don't understand what miles per hour is. Do you understand there's a term called terminal velocity? Terminal velocity is as fast as anything can free fall. That's it. Why? Because air and water are the same. They're the same with a different charge to it. They tell us, why is there an air current? Why is there an air flow? Because it behaves like water. Water behaves like air, and air behaves like water. Water will fill up every crevice you have unless you cordon it off. So does air. You could pressurize water in a tank, but as soon as you open it a little bit, the pressure releases, just like air. It is not as viscous as water. Air isn't. But it absolutely behaves like water. And since no scientist has ever created water or air, ever, no lab has ever made water or air. They supposedly know what air and water is composed of. Hydrogen and oxygen, H2O, it's 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen. That's simple, everybody knows that. Go and try to find a professor putting 2 hydrogen molecules and 1 oxygen molecule together and see what happens. Because you can't make water and you can't make air. It exists. You could take air from the area around you. You can crush things down and extract air and extract water from it. But that was water that already existed. And in Genesis it said, the spirit of Elohim moved over the face of the waters, the face of the deep. Right? It was nothing and void. God moved over the spirit of the waters. And he separated the waters above from the waters below. And in between he carved out a firmament. And that firmament's called God's footstool. Well, if there's no dome over us, why do we have air pressure? Why is there air pressure here? If that's a vacuum and rockets just shoot straight up, right? They go right through and go right out to outer space and out to the moon, and now they're going to Mars. Ooh. If they can shoot rockets up through there, how the fuck should it hold the air pressure in? If that's a vacuum. All right. Put some salt in your hand and put a vacuum right here and do that. And watch what would happen to the air. Salt's a little heavier than air. That's what would happen at the meeting point of the vacuum and our atmosphere. If there's no divider in between them, space is out here, our atmosphere is down here. If there's no divider in this space here, the vacuum will suck everything out. That's freaking science 101. And they tell me gravity's doing it. Okay. So I go and look at gravity. Look at the properties of gravity. I look at all the properties of gravity. And you know the one that stands out to me? It's at ground level, gravity has its strongest point. At ground level, gravity is the strongest. When you get up to the top of our atmosphere, it's only one tenth of our gravity. Or one something of our gravity. 1/20th of our gravity. Whatever. 1/5. It doesn't matter. It's less. Gravity is less there than it is near the ground. So if gravity is keeping the air in a vacuum way up there, how come we can't have a vacuum tube with no lid down here? If we live on a vacuum tube with no lid, we do. We live in a vacuum tube with no lid. A pressurized area with no lid on it. Why can't we do it down here with gravity? If gravity's fixing it up there, it's got to fix it down here too. It's a constant, right? Gravity's a law. But it's only a law when it disproves something that any human being on earth can see with their own eyes and observe and experience on their own. That's when gravity becomes a law. Listen to me, not what you see with your own eyes. That's the scientific community today. Superstition based. 800 miles per hour, the guy told me. Called me an idiot. Nothing. You could take a mountain 20 miles up into the air and drop it, and you know how fast it's going to come back to Earth? 123 miles per hour. Because that's terminal velocity, because nothing can free fall through the water. Nothing falls through the current of air faster than 123 miles per hour. That's science. That's science. That's a constant. That's why they call it terminal velocity. Because it's constant. Once you hit it, you don't go past it. You can't. Whether you drop a hammer, a baseball, a bowling ball, a Buick, doesn't matter. 123 miles an hour, that's it. The only way you go faster is if you have some kind of powered propulsion. You need a rocket. You need a jetpack. And you need a lot of aerodynamics. Because the faster you go, the more pressure is put on your body. And if a human being was standing outside with a 500 mile per hour wind coming by, it would rip our arms and legs off of our body. Don't think so? There's a spot down in one of the islands, right? Where an airport butts right up against the beach and planes take off away from the beach. People stand right here at a fence, and then they turn the engines of the plane kick on, right? Engines of the plane kick on and kick 90 to 110 mile per hour winds towards them. All right? The people can't stand up. They're holding onto the fence and their feet are dangling behind them like this until the jet gets a little further away from where they're at, and then their feet come down, and then they're just getting hit in the face with a lot of sand. That's 100. You're telling me he was doing 800 with the inverse square rule? Nah. That dude would have went nanoparticulate on the way down. He would have came down looking like Campbell's tomato soup. There's no way 800 miles per hour. And these are the fanboys that are backing up our scientific community. That's the caliber of person who agrees with science. That's the caliber of person that tells me I'm a conspiracy theorist. They read the bold print and never the article. I'm a conspiracy theorist. No, I just remember what I read. And I read the whole thing. I don't stop halfway through and walk away. I finish it. Because you never know when you're going to find a gem in one of these books. Found a lot of them throughout the years. And they're telling us we evolved. You're just by chance. You're an accident. You know, there's many more worlds out there for you to go live in. No, there ain't. We got this and we got us. That's what we got. No, I'll tell you what, if evolution and everything, evolution and the Big Bang and all makes people behave the way they behave out in the world, I don't want that to be true. I wouldn't want it to be true. I know when you come to the realization that there is a firmament above our heads, there is a lid, that's why we're pressurized. Nobody could get through it. Wernher von Braun, the guy who started NASA, Werner, W-E-R-N-E-R, V-O-N-B-R-A-U-N, Wernher von Braun. He started NASA. He was a Nazi SS general or lieutenant. In World War II, And we brought him over here to start our NASA. Uh-huh. Yeah. Hans Kammler. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Robert Oppenheimer. Yeah. Brought him over. And on that man's tombstone, look it up. You look it up. Tell me what it says on his tombstone. And I'll tell you what. The man at the time, the only man with the power to reach that high at the time was him. Nobody else was going up that high. Look what he wrote on it. Look what he had written on his tombstone. Somebody you could see the majesty of God's firmament. Surely it does exist. It's the only way we have pressure here. If you want to believe in space, that's fine. Just don't believe we could ever get there. Because the moon is not a structure to stand on. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to see through it. You can see Venus through the moon. You tell me light's bending around the moon? Okay. Well, then why doesn't it do it any other time? You don't ever see the moon. You don't ever see it when anywhere else. Only at that one particular time. Well, the Muslim crescent, the crescent and the star, that's what it is. That's Venus. When you look at the Muslim symbol with the crescent with the star right here, that's what it is. It's the moon, and you can see the star through it. It's not a star, it's Venus. I know I looked through some pretty good telescopes. And I ain't seen none of the shit that NASA shows in their books. I see flickering lights in the sky. Look like puddles. Look like little water puddles up there with waves going across them. Elohim separated the waters above from the waters below. Now, I'm not religious in any way. I'm scientific. And I'm going to tell you this. From all my observations in my 40-something years, the Bible is the closest scientific manual I've ever come across. It's the oldest one. It's the one that took shape before popular belief. It's the one that took shape before the mess. It's not what we all think it is, folks. We live in a flat, fixed, immovable plane, placed upon pillars that shall be unmovable. And there is a firmament above our heads. Crystalline firmament. And God uses it as his footstool. I'm Tuck. It's the way I see it.